Good morning. Today we will be reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, text 19. Let's hear the verse. Yo mam evam samudho janati purushottamam sasarva vidbhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. Krishna is addressing Arjun, who is also known as son of Bharat, and he's saying, whoever knows me as the Supreme Person, Purushottam, without doubt is the knower of everything. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me. Here in one verse, we have the conclusion and the purpose of all the Vedas summarized, at least according to Bhagavad Gita. And that conclusion is that those persons who understand the Supreme Person, they also understand everything. We can think of that if you understand the source of something, you also understand that what originates from it. And those persons, understanding the source of everything, engage themselves in devotional service to God. So there are many similar verses in Bhagavad Gita. Similar in which sense? They're made composed of two parts. In the first half, we hear about a certain realization of the knowledge and of those who obtained it. And then in the second half of the verse, we hear something along the lines, these persons continue their lives as nothing ever happened and they never turned back. Right? No, not at all. In the second half of the verse, we always hear that these persons who obtained a realization, who internalized knowledge, that they applied it in their lives, that they changed their behavior or they started performing certain activity. Realization always carries with it a responsibility to apply it, to apply the knowledge in one's life. So when we speak about these kind of verses or the parts that are speaking of Bhakti in Bhagavad Gita, what I often get as a feedback in philosophy workshops or in teacher trainings is people say, yeah, I have a bit of a problem with it. It's too overwhelming. It's too elevated, offering yourself, or yes, surrendering yourself. But then there are two things. On one side, sometimes we have not such positive experiences growing up in an environment where spirituality was understood with a very, very narrow-minded understanding, where spirituality was more seen as certain religion, following of rules, performing of rituals, without understanding what is behind them, without going deeper into the spiritual truths. That's on one side, and that's why many people have resistance when they hear something like this. On the other side, again, Sanskrit is such a rich language, and in order to understand the specific words, it's always good to take a closer look upon them. For example, we think of word Sharanagati that is often mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, also in connection to God, surrendering oneself to God. We see that Sharanagati is composed out of two words, Sharanam and Adati. Adati means to go to come closer to. Sharanam means the shelter, the refuge. So Sharanagati is not a one moment event. It's a process of coming closer to that or to one who can give us the protection. If you look up I looked up the meaning of the word refuge in an English dictionary, and what was written there, that refuge is a shelter or protection from distress or danger. So surrendering oneself means coming closer to that one who can give us the protection from distress, which is something that we are very much looking for in this world. But of course, Bhakti Yoga is much more than that. Bhakti Yoga is that inspires us, that enlivens us and enlightens us. And let's go back. As I said, there are these two things when we look. One, on one side, it's our resistance because of our previous experiences. On the other side is that we don't yet fully understand what is meant by certain words in the literatures that are coming from the East. So that's why the only thing I can recommend is to have open and fresh mind when we approach these literatures, and to really come with this beginner's mind in order to discover what is there for us. And again, we heard the conclusion and the purport of the Vedas in this one verse, and tomorrow we are left with the last verse of the whole chapter, and I'm looking very much to that, and hoping you will be here tomorrow. Thank you.